Good morning,
And
everybody.
we're back. Good morning, good morning. And we have our very exciting and special and elite guest on tonight, Dr. Philip Agrios.
Tonight.
uh, yes, and sweetly known as Dr. Phil, my
Hello.
favorite.
Great to see you guys.
It's good to be here. We're so glad you're here, Dr. Phil.
Me too.
Janae, do you want to? I'm gonna make sure that we are up on Instagram. Do you want
Okay.
to kind of take us through and do an intro for Phil and talk through that?
Yes. Okay. So are we live?
We are.
Okay, perfect. Just got to double check because
We're live.
our distinguished guest here, Dr. Phil, is he an author, speaker, personal coach, and very distinguished creator of finding your very best self and getting rid of the things that hold you back, also known as saboteurs. I have had such a fun time getting to know Dr. Phil, and one of the most incredible qualities that I've noticed just in my interactions with him is how deeply he cares about the people he works with and can dive into one person having just such an intense experience, whether it's negative, positive, and redirect that energy to see how this really creates a good energy and a good aspect and a good learning opportunity in someone's lives. So that's easy to do with a positive experience. Phil has an incredible way of helping his clients to see how the negative is actually a positive. And that seems kind of crazy and not easy to do, but I have seen the intense empathy with which he can do that in a way that a person can truly have a perspective shift. And it's literally life changing. And I've experienced that in small ways. I hope to experience it more. But this is truly a gift that, Phil has. And I am so thrilled that we get to share in that gift today. And our focus topic is not necessarily going to be our saboteurs, although those play out in every aspect of our life. But today we're going to specifically focus on health uh, and how those aspects are, easy or difficult for, different personality types and kind of personalize that experience. So, Dr. Phil, we're so happy to have you here. Thanks for coming on again.
Thank you, and thank you for those kind words. I appreciate
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah.
So, Phil, I know that you've worked for years talking and helping folks who aren't really sure why they fall into the same patterns of not being able to be successful, right? In lots of different things, in business, in relationships, and with their health. Can you sort of take the audience through what your experience has been and what maybe they've been feeling over the last, decade or two or three, of how, how 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 do most of your clients feel when they sort of hit that wall?
They feel what's wrong with me. They feel as in life is happening to them, not from them, through them, or for them. They look at it's the environment, it's something outside of them. But then there's also that where they know it's coming from them. They've gone through a lot of different courses from big gurus to other different types of people that are trying to help them through it. But they say it's something that's just always there. I just can't figure this out. So that's the majority of times I hear people say that, and I get excited because not because they're going through hard times. I'm not sadistic, but that when you go through that at that moment, you're ready to evolve. And we don't look at it that way. We look at it as just a shrinking. I mean, if I may tell you a little story, I remember one night I woke up middle of the night. You know the time where you think someone just injected you with 5 days of Red Bull, and you're up and you can feel like you can clean your house twice in an hour. You know?
Yep.
So I'm like, I'm up. So I go to my study and at home, and I'm going through my drawers. I was looking for something, and I came across my 5-year goals. You ever have that? right? And I was like, oh, great. I forgot about these. And I would go through each one. I'm going through down. I get to the last one, and I didn't hit one of them. I was like, what? Like, what the hell's wrong with me? It was the first thing I said. And I felt this, like, not the despair, but like, you're just a loser. And, is this ever going to happen? And type of thing. And when you're kind of somewhat in the dark and there's dead silence, you start hearing things. And I thought I was hearing things. And one thing said to me was, you're not being told the whole story.
Mm.
And I was like, all right, well, that's fine. You want to tell me? And, that was it, right? So, and then as I started to go through my life, then things started to happen. Like, not where I would get the, experience of, oh, this is cool, compared to, oh, crap, why is this falling apart? And all those years of going through some very horrific things and some devastating things, which now I have no problem with. I have no, I'm glad they happened, because I wouldn't be here talking to you two brilliant people. And so, yeah, that's when it started to break things down within me, so that what was in me started to come out.
Yeah, and I see that a lot, Phil, when I'm coaching clients, right? And you've got folks who are up against a wall for wanting to lose weight or trying to address a health challenge. I think a lot of times there are those 3 a.m. wake ups where they say, "What am I doing wrong? Why me? My
Oh,
metabolism.
yeah,
My."
why me? And I go,
Yep.
why not you? Who the hell do you think you are? That you're not here for things to go great. You're here for the adversity so you could evolve. My apologies for interrupting you, but yeah, I say that.
Well, and
No,
it's such a
it's
relatable experience because, how many times we hear that very similar story. I pulled out my 5-year goals and I looked at them and I achieved all of them, and it's like, ah, that's so great. Why isn't that happening to me? But to hear your story and I looked at my 5-year goals and I hadn't achieved one, it's like that is what people experience. And why don't we talk about that? And then diving deeper into that, well, why didn't you achieve any of them? And why does the other person on the next podcast over say, oh, I achieved all my goals and I didn't even know it. And it was such a great experience, when in a more relatable and everyday experience, it's like, oh, why am I such a loser? Because those are the things that go through your head when you look at something that you really wanted, especially when you describe it. It feels like I have all this energy. I've had 5 Red Bulls, which that's not really where we get energy, and it does not help our lifespan, by the way, everyone. But, and then you get to this result in your life that says, no, you didn't do it. And how do you not feel like a failure?
Yeah, it's kind of taking at that moment to realize that, okay, I didn't do this. Let me find out, not get emotional about it, because some people will get emotional about it. Some people will get their feelings kicked in. Some people will start overthinking all of this, compared to pulling back and going, this is so cool, or, well, that's interesting how this, I didn't achieve it. So instead of getting all emotional and going down that road, because it's not going to help me unless I want to go down a road and feel like crap because I want to punish myself, or maybe God is punishing me, or someone's punishing me. No one's punishing you. Someone's just trying to shake you up and wake you up. Go, you didn't achieve it. Let's go through this. And if you can't figure this out, then find somebody who gotten to that point where you are going, and hire them and get to that point. I cannot tell you how many people I look back going, oh, well, I can't afford this person. And then realizing later that I spent more money trying to figure it out on my own than I should have just paid for, find a way to pay for this guy or woman and follow what they did. And I would have been more successful faster. So,
And this is
it's,
such a great illustration of how somebody who's already been through what you've been through and has a guidebook can cut that time, so you're not floundering by yourself. And I think a lot of our listeners, and I know for sure myself, I've felt really alone in that trying to figure it out. How do I do this? It's like, I see some results in my life. I see that I am successful in some ways, but it's not nearly what I want. And that goes through every aspect in life, especially health and body image and weight and, how you feel in a day. And being able to take that and say, okay, instead of feeling like a failure, what can I do? Why would this be a good thing for me to look at, and how can I really find success? And then when you ask yourself those questions, people come into your life all of a sudden just kind of naturally that say, "Oh, I've been through that and here's what I did." And really being open to their experience versus like, "No, I'm going to do it on my own. I'm good."
Yeah, especially if you don't have a support. I mean, how many business owners out there have heard this? When are you going to stop this and get a real job? Right? Or, this hasn't been working. What are you doing? This is just, I wouldn't do this. Yeah, because they're projecting their fears upon you, and you got to stop going, good, I'm glad because you wouldn't be doing what I'm doing, and, whatever the case may be. So it's where that support system, if you have none, then you got to go deep and go, okay, I am my own support system, and what can I put into place to cheer me on, or find a group of people, get into a kind of networking that are there supporting you and creating an accountability for you so that you can do it. But you're not going to do it on your own. There's no way. No successful person in this world that I ever looked at, mentored by, or studied never always had some type of mentor or some support system. You cannot do this alone. And that doesn't mean if I find somebody, I want to ask for help because I don't want to look weak. No, you're strong by actually asking, and you're smart by doing so compared to trying to figure this on your own. And that's just your own saboteur within you, protecting you because you don't want to feel stupid or weak or whatever people in the past had told you you were when you did ask for help.
So this is a great seg. So here we are mid-December, right? And everybody's getting ready to go do their Christmas and Hanukkah and all their holiday stuff, and the family's coming around, and I can sense it in my house already. The stress levels are beginning to rise, right? Which I think a lot of
I'm
times,
taking a deep breath as I hear Josh describe this. Okay, keep going, Josh.
right. So how can Phil? I mean, you've developed this T Now method, right? And you've counseled and mentored and helped just so many people, thousands of people. So how should somebody who is watching this either today or tomorrow or whenever, how should they begin to look at themselves? Let's just take this over the next 30 days, right? Because people are really stressed out and they're really overloaded right now. How should they begin looking at themselves before the holidays right now to be able to at least start to identify what is going to be sabotaging their success? And that might be success with their emotions around family. It could be around food. It could be around, I mean, there's a lot of different things there. How do they need to start looking at that?
One huge word starts with an E: expectations.
Mm.
Expectations, in my opinion, is the root cause of all stress. It's the expectations you place upon others, the expectations that are placed upon you, and the expectations you place on yourself. Remove all those, you have no stress if you really think about it, right? You'll just kind of move forward and see what happens. And, I'm just going to be guided down the river, knowing that the ocean it's going to take me to the ocean. But, doesn't mean I sit back and get smashed by this boulder. I got to do a little twist, a little turn, but I'm just going to enjoy the ride no matter how bumpy it is or how calm it is, because those are your challenges and then your wins, right? And there just is. So the first thing would do is I did this with my own self. I sat down with my wife and I said to her, because she has 4 children, I have 2, and we have 7 grandchildren altogether, and things were kind of getting out of the way. And I said, look, I'm done buying stuff for people that can buy shit for, sorry, buy stuff for themselves.
It's okay. We like expletives on here.
Okay.
It's a form of expression, right?
Yeah, right. That's how I am, right? And I said, I want to start making memories because we have, her children are kind of scattered, my kids are around. And I said, I want everybody to start, and everybody gets along, and I just want everybody to have memories. So 2 years ago, started to go away the last week of the December. I know some of you guys can't do this, and I'm just telling you what I did. And you can do this, you don't have to go anywhere, but we went, rented a house, and we all got together for the entire week. We've done this for the last 3 years. To a point, don't send any on presents. We'll just focus on the grandkids. And then the other ones that don't have it, anybody who has kids, you're not buying anything. We're going to focus on maybe, we have other two that are single, whatever. But we're not going to do this. And it was such a great idea. And it lessens like, okay, what am I going to give you? Now it comes down to, tell me, go to Amazon and send me a link. How's that a
How's
gift,
that meaningful
right?
and
Just
connecting?
buy it
Yeah.
yourself,
Right.
if you want money, I'll just give you the money, type of thing. So it's about creating memories. So the question is what's it like in your family? Who's the person that says this has to be the way it is? Okay, who put you in charge, right? Especially if you're your mom and dad and all that. It's sitting down with everybody because everybody's feeling the same pinch and going, you know what? Can we have a conversation about what is expected and maybe we start shifting some different traditions so that it's not so much, or when we get together, instead of each individual, maybe do a Secret Santa or something else. And, so again, especially even with the Jewish faith, you know, just sitting down and renegotiating. It's a renegotiation of the expectations for the next 30 days.
I love that. I grew up in a place where Christmas Day was the living room full, like filled it to like 3 feet of presents. I mean, it was like it was.
Yep.
I, I feel very fortunate, and we weren't very well off, but it was outrageous. Like if I think about it now, right? Like as an adult, I'm like, what is going on? So I totally and as I've gotten older, Phil, I absolutely resonate with the idea of the experience. And in fact, if you look at all the data, right, all empirically, all of the data shows that experiences are more valuable than things, right? Like that is there is no scientist or study that will convince me otherwise that I have seen yet, right? And so I love the idea of creating those experiences. And sometimes it doesn't even have to be, going out and renting a house, right? It could even be like one of the things that I've been wanting to do this. Have you guys ever seen? I'm gonna go off on a tangent. Have you guys ever seen the SNL skit with Steve Martin that he did back in, I think it was the '90s, where it was what I want this holiday season. What I If I could have one thing this holiday season, it would be for all of the boys and the girls in the world to live in peace and harmony. And then, and then he'd go down this list. So anyway, that's just a throwback.
Love it.
So if I like one of the things that I really have wanted to do this holiday season, as the kids are out of school, is to go and do a volunteer activity and do something where I'm actually giving back, right, and sharing in that experience to have that sort of that bonding moment, which ironically feels a little selfish because it's something that I want to do, right? I know it's not really, but it feels a little selfish that I want to drag them along to have this memory. But I think those are the kinds of experiences that and I'm not even that old. Those are the kinds of things that really seem to begin resonating for me, right? Like those are the things that I can already see that I will think back on with fondness and probably more so than getting a sweater.
Yeah, remember, it's not, see, here's the thing. That's not selfish. It's self-nourishing. Selfishness and self-nourishing are not the same thing. They're different, right? So selfishness, so there's a one of the saboteurs that overly give and they're always focusing on everybody else. And I give an analogy. And I said, when you enable somebody, you're being selfish. And they look at me going, how's that? And I said, well, so Josh, you and I go out to the gym, right? And you will go for the dumbbells. And I go, no, no, I got this, man. And I start doing this, right? I don't know if you can see. Now, how's that feel, Josh?
So
And you look at me like I'm out of my
Dr.
mind.
Phil's doing his own reps there.
Yeah,
Are you
I'm
trying to
doing
do it for
curls, okay?
Josh?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
doing curls. And I go to Josh, how's that feeling? He's looking at me like I'm out of my mind. Look, Josh, man, I'm helping you out here because next 2 days, especially the second day, you're going to be really sore. So I'm going to take that for you. So who's getting stronger, Josh?
No, you are.
Who's getting weaker?
I am.
So when you enable somebody, you actually weaken them
Mm-hmm.
because you feel that's what's best. So you're actually being selfish. So you're not, so by doing so, I am now responsible for you. I am not responsible to you. You're not responsible for anybody. You're not responsible for your children or your parents or anybody. You're only responsible for you because the difference is be responsible for is that you are now controlling those people, that you have full control over them.
Mm-hmm.
Responsible to is that I am here to guide you. So if you and I have a higher level of working out and you're not, you don't know anything, then I am responsible to you to guide you so you don't hurt yourself, not do the weights for you. And that's what happens. So people feel that they're responsible for that. Everybody should have a great time for Christmas or Hanukkah, and they do all this, and then they're stressed out. And by the end, they're now upset because people are not feeling good because now they're trying to do that. So everything that you do is because it's self-nourishing. Even Mother Teresa, when she went out and did all that, it felt good for her. So it's okay to feel good giving. So and no matter what, you are still taking for yourself in a balanced way. So I hope that
Oh,
helped.
that's interesting. I'm gonna monopolize Phil's time for like another 2 minutes because I'm gonna be selfish right now. So it's interesting. So
Self-nourishing, Josh.
I'm gonna be self.
Let's use the
Maybe it's
correct
like
terms, please.
that's right. I'm gonna be slightly selfish and also self-nourishing. But it's interesting because I don't know if I told you, Phil. So I was well, I am a musician, but I was an opera singer in a previous life. And so I've spent a
Oh,
lot of time on stage performing in front of people. And back when I was younger, um, I didn't care so much about the audience when I would perform. It was inherently very selfish, actually, because I enjoyed performing and I enjoyed the feeling that I got from performing, and I didn't make a connection with the audience, right? So there wasn't a give and take, right? It was I was a baby. I didn't understand sort of the fact that what I was providing also might have connected with them, right? Um, but now, as you talk about this, I can see how both those things can be true, right? How I can give of that gift, but also it's not bad that I actually feel that joy, right, of being on stage and that, whatever that is. So it's interesting because I think there's a lot of people probably that are listening. There's a lot of the people that I coach are, they're high net worth individuals, they're business owners, they're executives, and I think uh, we have a lot of expectations of ourselves, and I think it is important to point out exactly what you just said, which is
Mm-hmm.
it's okay to take a moment for ourselves because inevitably, when and I'm going to speak just for a minute as a man, right? Inevitably, as men in general, there is a very high expectation for what we hold ourselves to. Forget everybody else. I don't care what Janae thinks about me. I don't care what my kids, parents, friends think about me. I don't think none of those things matter. I hold myself, and I know a lot of my clients hold themselves to a very high standard, a standard that it is probably not really realistic, and we are bombarded with Instagram and all these social media profiles that show a very unrealistic representation of what everybody's accomplishing. Janae, as you said, at
Mm-hmm.
every minute,
Yep.
what's going on now? What are we doing? What did we do yesterday? What are we doing in 10 minutes? Um, and so it really is sort of a breath of fresh air to think about taking a moment to self nourish, right? And I think that is probably one of the best gifts that any of my clients or any of our audience can take in the next couple weeks is identifying how you can self nourish and give that gift to yourself.
well, the trees do it, right? Do you ever see in the forest the tallest trees don't go, oh, Mr. Sun, please, no, not me. Oh, my friend over there, they really need you. Or, oh, Mr. Rain, no, please, please, no, they need over here. No, they take 90% of the sun and the rain. But what happens is what you don't realize is that there's a massive root system that When they take it in, they are now supplying to the other foliage that they're taking most of the sun and the rain in, because they're creating a balanced ecosystem. We don't. If we overly give, right now they're not taking, they're giving everything to a bottom, and now they're going to die, and then creating, or if they just take and not, then everything underneath will die, because each and that whole community, they're helping each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's you, whatever you give, you get back immediately, right? And I'm thinking, is it the second or the third thermodynamic law, the law of thermodynamics, is that for every action there is an opposite and equal reaction, right? So Janae, I give you a very expensive gift out of nowhere.
Oh, thank you, Dr.
You're
Phil.
welcome. How are you feeling right now? What do you
I
feel you have to do?
I would feel thrilled. I'd be like, oh, I'm so special. I got a great gift. I must be valuable. I would also feel like, ooh, do I owe something back?
Yes. So when I give that to you, I get back immediately two things, with one of the two things. One, I'll feel great if you just take and say, thank you, this is great. Or, oh, no, 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 I can't take this. But I still get back sadness because
Mm,
you're not accepting my gift.
right.
So
I'm
even
rejecting
though
it.
this is an expensive gift, I am still
Mm-hmm.
getting back the same energy, but in a different form of you
Mm,
just being appreciative of it, or you say, oh, no, no, thank you, but I can't do this. So you don't owe me anything because you already gave back to me in the same amount.
mm. And isn't that kind of the highest form of giving we can hope for, is someone that can give a gift, or being the person that can give a gift without any expectation in return?
Yeah,
That's true also.
unconditional. That's
Mm-hmm.
unconditional giving. Now, there are people that there is that conditional giving,
Mm,
mom, dad, whoever, where I give you this and they're expecting, oh, no, you don't owe me anything, but they're still expecting. Now, that's where you have to make a decision going, this person is always conditional. Now I owe them something. And I'm going to basically just straight going, you know what? There's a condition why you give this to me compared to someone who's just loving and, I don't expect anything truly, probably less of those people than the other people, but it is what it is. It's no judgment against those people. It's just their protection.
yeah.
But again, you need, when you take it, have to understand how is this being related, and I need to express. So you would go, Phil, why did you give me, thank you, I appreciate it. Do you want anything? No, no, no. I just saw this. I thought this would be great. I don't expect anything. And if you can truly feel that that's where I'm at, then it's up to you to let that go. Because I'm
Mm-hmm.
not responsible for you feeling that you have to give something back to me. Like,
Right.
see
And I
that?
think that's where we really get to have the autonomy to choose how you want to feel, because, I've been in a position where I do receive a gift, and I just feel like it was forgiving, and I can feel so much gratitude when that happens. On the flip side of that, I've received gifts where I kind of feel this like, oh, what do you want from me? And both situations, the actions were the exact same, but it was a different feeling that I got from each experience. And what I learned from the second, when I get a gift and I feel that, I would call it kind of that cringiness of like, ooh, I have this ulterior motive for giving you something, and I'm picking up on it. So, it feels uncomfortable, but this person's being kind and it seems like they're generous. In the past I've said, oh, okay, what should I do, or what can I do to give back? And now I just say, you know what? They get to choose their own feelings. I feel that cringiness, but I'm just going to let it go, and I'm going to allow them to have their experience. I'm going to be grateful for the gift, and I'm putting zero pressure on myself to respond to the feeling that I'm picking up from them, because it is not my responsibility.
Right.
And going back to the feeling, and as you were talking about control, this is one of the most inspiring concepts I've ever learned. Is, as you said, we get those people who are so giving and they seem so generous. And in that, they're taking away opportunity from other people. And then, they're kind of like the martyr, like, oh, I give so much, I do everything for you. And I think as parents, I see this in myself especially, we struggle because we want to do things for our kids and we want to give them everything. And at the same time, a lot of times that takes away experience from them. And then by doing that, we are being very controlling. And yet you can step back and say, oh, I'm not controlling, I'm so giving. But you're really not. You're trying to control a lot of things. And I think women fall into this a lot. Men too, but I'm saying this also
Me,
from the
I do
perspective
it.
of a woman.
Well, I
Okay,
have
Josh, he's guilty.
in the past. In the past. In the
In
past.
the past. And this is why the awareness around this is so important because again, also in the past, I've said, oh, I've done everything for you. I've given you so much. But what I'm really doing is trying to control. I'm not overtly doing that. I don't always have awareness that I'm doing that. But how do you relate a giving person that's actually just a controlling person? And what a mind shift that is when you see it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. You just got to look at it of, is this a feeling I'm getting? Is this a perception I'm getting? Is this and then just let it play out and see what this other person does, especially with the relatives and stuff like, they're giving it, or, like your mother, right? Or your father, that can push your buttons because you're going back to that 12-year-old kid or whatever the case may be. But, with your own children, it's about, what experience am I giving them, right? And if I'm giving this to them, am I spoiling them? Am I giving this whole thing where now they're going to feel entitled that this is what they should be doing or whatever? And this is what happened with us with my ex and I was giving so, I'm like, why are we giving so much? I didn't get this much, right?
Right.
And then she was making, whatever. So yeah, I fully understand that, Josh.
So what kind of questions do folks need to ask themselves, Phil, in order to identify whether and by the way, let me just make a point. I think most people don't know whether they're doing this. Like a lot of this stuff is so
Mm-hmm.
subconscious and we are so pre-wired to our 12-year-old self
Hmm.
that we're not doing. I will tell you that for years I did exactly this, right? I did not have conscious expectations. I didn't. I didn't think that I did. But I realized that every time that I suggested something or whatever, there was always, as I look back, there was an expectation somewhere buried in my mind of what was going to either, I was going to be validated, I was going to, get an outcome that I thought that I wanted, I was going to get the reaction that I wanted, I was going to, whatever that was, right? There was some sort of subconscious expectation. But I had to do a lot of work to get to that point. Phil, what kind of questions can people ask themselves to sort of start peeling back the layers so that they can at least, and I'm not saying you solve anything, with a couple questions, but how can they start that journey?
So I'm laughing because it's going to cringe you, Josh, a little bit. Okay, since or the old you, I should say, right? What do I want out of this holiday?
Mm.
Now, people are like, well, that's selfish. No, it isn't. Because think about this. I'm going to be probably make a lot of people mad, but hang in there before you turn off the podcast what I'm about to tell you guys. So we've been told you must what? Blank in order to receive. What do you have to do?
Give.
You have to
You have
give
to give.
first to receive.
Mm-hmm.
I disagree with that.
Mm.
And I agree with that. It depends because we're looking at it as linear, going back and forth, compared to circular. So let me explain. If I'm in front of a fireplace, nothing there, and I'm cold, and I go, give me heat, and then I'll give you wood. Right? That ain't
It doesn't
happening.
work that
Right?
way.
So, but if I give it wood, I get heat. So I have to give to receive.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. But let's go a step back. I have to first what? Take the wood.
Mm.
I must give myself wood in order to give it to the fireplace so that I can get something back. So we don't go back further of, do I have enough within me to give, or am I so, my coffers are so low, my energy is so whatever. Now I'm giving and now I'm creating resentment,
Mm.
not for that person. You're really pissed off at yourself because you have allowed this to continue to happen. Flip it over, the person who's overly giving to themselves, and again, not self-nourishing, but they overly give, they can be narcissistic, self-absorbed, and things like that, where they're like, well, this should be just happening, or, can somebody just throw me some wood, and, whatever the case may be, right? So it's really circular because it happens all at the same time within us. But because we only can think of things and talk about things one thing at a time, that's why it's linear, step by step. But it all happens within us. The giving and taking instantaneously happens. But for me to talk about giving and to talk about the receiving, I need to pick one to start with and then talk. I can't talk giving and receiving at the same time. If I did, that'd be an interesting trick. Does that
Yeah,
resonate or help?
and what I'm seeing with this too, going back to your earlier analogy, first of all, so yes, you have to take the wood and give it to the flame to create heat, right? But also that means that you have to take from a tree who's grown the wood, right? And then what if that tree did what you said? Oh no, I won't take the sunlight, give it to these other ones. Then would that tree be available as wood? So this is very cyclical,
Mm-hmm.
and it's this whole connection of being aware of what it is that you truly love and want, and allowing yourself to have that feeling and desire, and going and taking it to be able to give.
And how are your actions moving like a wave to other things as well as
Mm-hmm.
behind you, not just thinking what is my first tier of the onion, right, of the circle. So I have me in the middle and I have one circle around me. We
Mm-hmm.
only a lot of times just see in front of us, not the other circles that we have that effect. When I tell
Yeah.
people, hey, when you give me a testimonial, you are not helping people directly, but you are indirectly helping so many people with this
Mm-hmm.
testimonial. So, they don't think about that aspect of it. It says, hey, just, can I have a testimonial? All right, great. So you can make more money. No, because it's helping impact, because most likely you saw a testimonial that inspired you, that
Mm-hmm.
then allowed us to work together so that you can do it. And again, it's the ripple type of effect that sometimes we don't see. And when it comes to the holidays, we don't realize, oh, we're in a great mood, but we don't realize maybe someone lost their husband or their wife or their child or whatever. And, you know, we don't think about that. Merry Christmas, and the person's in a bad mood. I mean, if I may,
Yeah.
when I heard this story, I was like, wow, this is powerful. Whether or not it's true or not, but this does happen. So someone was on the New York subway, and she was sitting there, and then this guy comes up with the two of his children, and they're sitting here, and he's just kind of off space, and they're just jumping around all over the place. And
Wow,
after a while,
that's
the woman
cute.
says, "Can you please keep curtail your children, please? They're jumping all over the place." And he was like, "What? Oh, I'm sorry, their mother just died, and you know bad things happen. Go to a cashier who's not very nice." And I would just, I used to, I was like, just right, compared to, I hope you're having a better day tomorrow. So, or I hope everything's okay, and I hope, and they look at me, and sometimes people will tell me, yeah, I've this guy diagnosed with cancer or this or something happened, and I'm gonna say, well, I'll send you love and light or prayers to you, and whatever. But it's just really interesting that don't take it personally,
Mm-hmm.
because you don't know what the other person, but that's where you become selfish if you want to look at
Mm-hmm.
it, that it's about me and why this person isn't experiencing my energy. We forget
Mm-hmm.
that they have their own electromagnetic energy around them, just like the earth does, and we have. And when we connect to each other, we feel it, see it, and act upon it. And we have to be aware of what they may be going through.
So
Yeah, and it's
that's
such a powerful thing to be able to not take something personally, because, coming from that selfish space, I think it's really easy to think and to say, what they're doing is a reflection on me. Well, no, it's not. It's a reflection on what they're going through, and what, how they're interpreting things. And when you can ask yourself, well, maybe they're just not having a great day, when you have an interaction that's less than positive. I mean, what are the questions you can ask to kind of disconnect from taking things personally so much all the time?
So there's two words that I give my clients that works fantastic. That's interesting. My house is on fire. Well, that's interesting.
Mm.
I just won $1 million. Well, that's interesting. What that interesting does is depersonalizes the situation. It brings you to pull back a few ways. You can look at it as a movie that you're seeing that reaction, there's no emotional reaction to it, or you're having that reaction without that emotion. It does that. Or that is so cool. That person said this, and I responded by screaming, yelling. Thank you so much to show me that I went back to the old me compared to, wow, this person gave me an opportunity to go back to the old me of screaming and yelling. Thank you so much for the opportunity, but you no longer, that no longer serves me. This serves me. So
Mm.
by actually being grateful and being thankful and acknowledging it, it is then you take control.
Mm.
Before that, you have no control until you agree and thank, and then say, thank you, this no longer work, I'm working on this. Because everybody outside of you is you. The person you can't stand is a part of you you can't stand. They're just showing up to show you what you're not dealing with. And you're pissed off at that because how dare you show a part of me that I've been not dealing with and running away from, right?
And
And
I
I'll
love
hear
that
people go,
because,
there's no way that person's
yeah.
me. And 100%, I have a little technique that I use, and no one has ever proven us wrong that it is them because it's just the characteristics of that. Because if you dealt with that part of you, you would then have compassion for them because
Mm.
you understood where they're going and you'll be able to kind of be more in a balanced way. And I'm not saying be Buddha all your life. You're going to have that experience. You're going to have screaming and yelling. You're going to, the question is, okay, if I was just dealing with a client of mine. So he was going through the course, he's understood, and he said, I just lost it with my wife and everything else. And we went through the process of how it was a saboteur and all that. And I said, when it happens again, I didn't say if it happens again. I said, when it happens again, because you've been doing this for how long, and you see it, just go, time out. Can we do this over again? Right? Everybody's
Okay.
going to laugh, right? Or something like that. So it's becoming aware of how long am I using this for? How long am I using this protective, whether or not I am over screaming, yelling, or I am withdrawing, because that's the only two protections we have is over engaging and withdrawing on that end of it, and then reassessing it and try to balance it out.
I love this. And so, for anybody who's familiar with the Carl Jung work, right? Like this is like your shadow self and the part that's super subconscious and I mean I have very, very personal experience, right, with reconnecting with that shadow self and understanding those things, Phil, that cause me to either be reactive or whatever else that is as a protective mechanism, right? And so this is such a great like segue into now. So now we're after actual Hanukkah and Christmas and any other holidays that you celebrate during this time, and and now folks are getting ready to go back to the gym or start their 2025 health journey, right? And oh, Janae's getting interrupted.
Yes, I have a child that should be at school right now.
Oh, whoopsies, whoopsies.
Oops.
Um, and I can't help but point out, Phil, that with a lot of the folks that we coach, it is the same set of basic fears and saboteurs, right? That will come out to not give themselves the grace to use the feelings and not recognize those feelings with food or exercise and so talk with me a little bit about how can they go from identifying what those saboteurs are. We just talked about this relationally and how these are actually affecting them within themselves, right? Because I think a lot of people don't realize that when it comes to that relationship with yourself, which is quite possibly, I mean, it's sort of an odd thing if you think about it for a minute, right? Like we each have this relationship with ourselves that no one else has, right? No one else is in my head going over the 4 million things a second that are happening 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 360 for 45 years, right? Like that's a lot of time spent with somebody. Nobody has that type of time. And I think a lot of times we don't connect the fact that we're treating ourselves as this relationship. And so how do they make that jump from being able to recognize how they're sabotaging other relationships to how they're sabotaging themselves and what they're, you know what I mean, what they're doing with themselves.
So, what my research over the last 30 years, we're researching thousands of people. We were able to come up with what the T now method is all about. It's an inborn trait, an inborn sabotaging trait that you're born with that stops your success. It's not there to undermine you. It's there to protect you because subconsciously to sustain and to achieve that goal subconsciously is more painful. So you go back doing the same thing over and over again. So, and then what I was able to do is find that antidote that switches it off instantly, and it's impossible for you to self-sabotage yourself. So, one of the things that you can do to start, this is what I was telling about, some things you can start doing without knowing this as well, but when you know it, it really changes your life. But in that case, is two things. Number one, stop creating New Year goals.
Wait,
Create,
so January 1st, I can't come up with new goals anymore.
come up with promises.
I like that. Okay.
Kleinmeier gave that to me, and I've been using it ever since.
Mm.
If you create a goal, it's not really part of you, but you say a promise to yourself. So Jack Canfield, when he told me one time, he says, I read a book about I forget the name of the book, but a gentleman went out and researched billionaires. Okay, and he found out they had similarities. They would get up between 4:30 and 5. They would work out and they would meditate and they would then go to work. I'm in, Jack. I'm going to do this, right? So a couple of days, I got myself and I'm starting. Everything is going great. Day 6 kicks in and I'm like, I don't want to do this. And I said to myself, you are lying. You are a liar. You lied to us. I don't care if no one else knows, but you should be not ashamed, but you need to stay in integrity of what you said. You said we're doing this for 30 days. So get your ass out of bed and just do this because you have to stay in integrity with your word. And that should be the most important thing that you have, not only to others, but to you at the most point. So I got up. And ever since, 90% of the time, I get up at 5. Okay. So at that moment, I had to stay in integrity with myself. So I'm telling everybody here, do not make a promise or a goal or anything unless you sit with yourself and go, can I really do this? And if not, who do I need as accountability partner or maybe a partner to do this with, whatever. But then go back to the other year that you had the same damn goal, right? And ask yourself, what happened? Why did I get off the train? And then from there, what was the pain? It's, are you willing to pay the price? Well, I went back there and it just didn't work, and it was horrible. It was really pain, whatever the case may be. So you have to look at. There's actually three fundamental reasons we self-sabotage that I was able to discover. Do we have time for that?
Sure, absolutely.
First one is when you had success and then you lost it. Right? So when you hit that point and you lost it, the pain of losing it again is more painful, so you never get to that point. Or if you ever had your heart broken, right? Really bad. So you will never get to that point again, because if you found that love again and that you lost that, whether a death or something else, you never get to that point, so you then settle. Okay, or you never do it and go, there's no way I'm doing this, so I'd rather be alone, I'll deal with my business, or I'll deal with my children, all that, and you don't take care of you because of that loss. Number one. So in the past, did you try this and something happened and you lost it and it was so painful that you'll never do that goal again, but you're going to try anyway? Try, right? Not do it. The second is sidestepping what's necessary. So I have to get on this podcast and listen to these two beautiful people. I got to go buy a book. I got to do a course. I may have to talk about hire Josh and Janae to help me through this. And you know what? There's a great new series on Netflix. I'm going to binge watch that, and then I'll take care of it. And it's not going to happen, right? So doing what's necessary to get to that point. And the third one is more success equals more pain. Anybody here ever have a great month? Do you ever have a great month in your business and then the second month sucked?
Yep.
Why? Because in that moment you were maybe had automations in, you didn't have enough staff, whatever the case may be. Now you're never seeing your feeling. You were so overwhelmed. It was so painful. So you will never want to go there again. So you don't do what's necessary to get to that month. So those are the three. So it's uh, I've had success before and I lost it, sidestepping the necessary things to do. And the third thing is more pain equals more success equals more pain. So that's where you go back with and go, what did I do back then that caused that? So that today I want to do this promise, I want to set this up, but subconsciously it's going to be too painful.
I think
And
those
this is
are
where you have very specific antidotes for each one of those that says, okay, these are no longer going to affect you anymore.
Yeah. See,
And that's it.
the saboteur is behind all those three and everything you've ever had, every negative emotion, everything that you've never achieved, and all that is from just one trait that you were born with, and the antidote switches that off
Which
instantly.
means if you're born with it, you can't change it. So you got to learn to work with
You
it because
can't
it's
get
always
rid
going to
of
be
it.
there.
It's impossible. You want it's your protective trait. You wouldn't want to get rid of it anyway, right? So you need to learn to dance with it, right? But here's the thing: when the saboteur kicks in, it actually brings the challenges and the adversities in, so you can evolve. So it's there to help you to evolve.
So you're not changing, you're evolving, which means you're expressing more of what you are in the highest and best ways that you can possibly live. So, I mean, these nuggets have just been like unbelievably incredible. So, for those that want to go deeper and find out, okay, you've got my whistle wetted on this. How do I stop doing this to myself? Where can they find you, Dr. Phil?
Well, I'm going out of business tomorrow, so I'm sorry. No.
Dang
Uh,
it. You're leaving us all hanging. How could you do this after all that?
Yeah, I'm here for a while. I have this huge responsibility because I have something that nobody else has. I mean, it's truly something totally new. And I have this huge responsibility that I was given something so powerful that I'm here for the next 40, 50, 60 years. That's my goal. So
God willing,
I
I
always
love
I always
that.
joke, say instead of a mic drop, it's going to be a fill drop on maybe me 100, and then all of a sudden I do my last zoom and then I keel over, and that's how I'm going out. But
Well, Josh and I are hoping that we can all collectively live to at least 120, 140. So that's
mhm,
our expertise.
that's
Dr.
right.
Phil's going to allow us to get past those things that hold us back in life. So can you imagine a life of 140 years old? You have nothing that's held you. I mean, this is like a combination that that could potentially be unstoppable. So,
Absolutely.
and that's what Josh and I do. We focus on the health aspect of that. Dr. Phil focuses on the the mental and emotional aspect of that. And that's kind of why we've come together today. So, okay,
well,
given that you're going to be here.
and hold on a second. I want to put Phil on the spot because
Okay.
I sort of have a thought, which is, Janae and I, have a group opening in January for folks who are coming on to coach, and if anybody wants to come on with that group, Phil, I mean, Janae and I would love to have you come, and talk with, because one of the things
Oh,
that's
wow.
so important for us to have with any of our clients is to start with understanding themselves and understanding how they are interacting with their health, with their saboteur, with their, with all of the ways that they can be successful. And so if we don't set that right foundation, which we're already doing a lot of in our program, but the reason we love chatting with you, Phil, is you are next level with this, and you are helping people at a much deeper level, even than we are, right? Because this is your focus. So I think that's something we'd love to have you on. So anybody who wants to,
Oh,
come
thank
join,
you.
we'll connect you up with Phil, and we'll make sure that we can identify what that saboteur is. And I know I'm putting you on the spot, and we'll figure out how this all
I'd
works
be honored.
afterwards. I don't know, but it's
Hey, look,
that's
this is why I'm here, right? I want to help the millions. I need to connect to those people. I'm not here just to work with, people that are in more of the premium coaching and they can afford it. That's why we just launched our membership site where everybody from kids to, parents to athletes to whomever, come on like a monthly thing. We're opening that up in about another month or two, but and they can get on a waiting list for that. But yeah, so we have different ways of serving people, from a premium coaching to a workshop for any companies or corporations or veterans, things like that, and then our memberships. So yeah,
So where
so
can our
they can
listeners
reach
go
out
to
to me on
find you?
different social media.
Okay.
If they're interested in the membership and want to, see what that's about, most likely we'll have a webinar just prior to that. They can go to the tnowmethod.com. So the T-H-Y, no, T-H-Y, I can spell, T-H-E, T is in Tom, now method.com. Those who may want to look at the premium end of it and are looking to invest in something higher for themselves, they can go to the tnowmasterclass.com. There's a 12-minute training and an opportunity to talk with us to see if this is something for them. I always joke that if you have money and you breathe, does not mean you get into our program.
Yes,
So
I love
very
that.
protective of it, and we want to make sure that you are 100% for this. What can we guarantee you in our coaching program? Because we'll guarantee you, and can you at least 5 times your investment? And if
I
that's
love that.
all yes to that, then and that person is okay with it, then we allow that person into the program.
That's a beautiful offer. And, this is where Josh and I come in. And if you're asking yourself the question, why can't I lose the weight? Why don't I have the energy? Why am I not feeling the way I did? That's what we focus on. We go
Yep.
over the blood work, we go over like the specific health aspects. But then we love to bring in experts like Dr. Phil for that additional, those little pieces like, okay, my blood work says this. I've gone over this with Josh and Janae. I still have a block. Well, somebody like Dr. Phil comes in and says, here's what it is. And it all comes together in this beautiful thing.
It's
So
so
Josh and
important what
I
you
have
guys do.
openings.
I don't think people may not really realize what you guys do, right? I used to be a functional medicine doc and a chiro, right? So I used to do the blood work and all that. I don't do that anymore. I don't want to do that anymore. That's you guys can do it, right? So, but people don't realize that, especially with the blood work, you're cutting it down to the healthier level because not think about all the people that are getting blood are the sick people majority of the time. So that the blood work is that sick range, but you're going to bring it into more of a healthy range, and that's why they're going to their doc and going, hey, my blood work is normal. Why do I still feel like crap? The reason is because they're looking at the ends and not really looking at the healthier range like you guys do, and then focusing on. So that's the difference, guys. I mean, this is powerful stuff, and very few people are doing this. So, you know,
Thank you.
get together with Janae and Josh and find out what's going on, because I lost my health. I don't know if you guys know
Yeah.
that. I actually lost my health.
And when you lose your
And
health, you have nothing. That's
yeah,
all you can focus on until
and
you
I
regain.
gained it back from the knowledge I had using what Josh and Danae will help you with some other things I did. But once you lose your health, you're done.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
right. It's the
Well,
foundation.
thank you.
Health is wealth.
So join us in January. This is going to be a life-changing coaching program. We're going to have experts like Dr. Phil. Thank you for your time today, Dr. Phil. It's been
Oh, thank you.
invaluable. I think the things that we've learned today are life-changing in and of themselves. So thank you for sharing your gifts and talents with us today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to give some value to your audience.
Yeah. So if
All
you have
right.
more questions, reach out to us, reach out to Dr. Phil. We're here to answer them, and we'd love to have you join us.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
I think we're off. Let me see.
All right. Awesome. Okay, I got it. Cool. Well, I have to jump because another podcast is interviewing me right now, and apparently my kid missed the bus. So,
Oh my gosh. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
okay, bye. Love you
All right.
guys.
See ya, Phil. Thanks.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I hope this was
Okay.
valuable for you.
Yeah. This